A lot of familiar faces. Some aren't so familiar. I recently had an eye operation and now all my friends look about 10 years older. As do I, in the mirror each morning. Oh, that's James. Hi, James. Fixing the light. So, 1983. Cold Lake, Alberta. Canada was being the usual powder monkey and testing cruise missiles on behalf of our southern cousins. And the Canadians were upset, and some of the Americans were upset, and they joined hands. The Canadians made a paper-mache mock-up of a cruise missile and delivered it to a group of American friends just over there, and had a little party and a little snooze session together and talked about how they felt about the situation. And then the Americans put it on top of a station wagon and took it all the way to the Boeing plant in Seattle and staged a very, very effective demonstration. And so on every Mother's Day since that time, Americans and Canadians from obviously either side of this, what did you call it, Life Has Meaning? This imaginary boundary? Yeah, funny how we imagine things and how big and powerful they get after we imagine them. Anyway, here we are, 40th year. 40 years of the Mother's Day Walk for Peace. Sorry it's not working very well. Sorry about that. But the respect between Canadians and Americans across this boundary over those 40 years has been, as I put it on my poster, small enough to do, big enough to matter, right? Small enough to do, because if stuff like that happens here, there, and everywhere from time to time, I mean, we even hear about in the trenches of World War I, Germans and Allied, or actually whatever they were called, the West, were in the trenches and they could hear each other singing carols while they were waiting to go over to the top and kill each other, and they decided to heck with this. And they got up and they had a hot soccer game. They just threw everything down and said, hell with this, you know, it's Christmas for gosh sakes. Here you are still knocked over there, and we're singing Silent Night over here, sounds the same. Of course, they got into a little difficulty with the people in charge of the operation, you understand, but I always think that's a little bit inspirational, because it means that a tiny blossom of sanity can sometimes emerge in the damnedest places, and there was no damn place worse than the trenches of World War I, I'm quite sure. And as we've had these celebrations, we've been joined by our probably the most ardent people on behalf of peace generally between people, who are our Doukhobor neighbors in the boundary country. They have been here faithfully year after year after year, and we love to hear them approach our boundaries singing hymns. The thing about it is, of course, it's not irony, it's something else, but you know, those folks in Russia in the 1890s were being enlisted by the Tsar to fight the Turks, and they said no way, piled up their weapons and burned them, and won disfavor with, of course, the people who were in charge of the operation, as usual, right? Had to put up with all kinds of you-know-what before the likes of Count Leo Tolstoy came along to give them a hand, along with some others, so that they could migrate to places like Saskatchewan, Bolivia, Mexico, and other parts in the West, and enjoy peace and toil and the peaceful life. And that's sort of, I think, understand still, that's the enduring motto, if I'm correct, of the Union of Spiritual Communities of Christ, Doukhobors, who are the folks who join us each year here. And I'm thinking right now that this moment that we take with one another each year is important just as a thing in itself. It's not very often that as individuals we can be super well-spoken or eloquent in what it is that we feel about the question of war and peace. But when we meet here on Mother's Day, we know that we are of one heart, we know that we are of one spirit, and it makes us happy to know one another once again on this annual basis. So thank you.
Here, here.
Thank you, Dave. That gave us a little bit of insight on how this all started and why. And that is important to remember, the beginnings.
Okay, let's see. So, Al, are you about ready? Could you do a set?
Yeah, I got one song for you.
Okay. Can I help you with the instrument?
Just give me the
This is Fiddlin' Big Al Chidester. He comes all the way from Moscow, Idaho. He has a TMC's a radio station of conscience. A radio program on Radio Free Moscow, Idaho.
This is a song that came to me as we were, I don't say we, but those that like to do war were ready to go invade Iraq. They were talking, the president mentioned the term, this was a holy war, and I beg to disagree. So I've got 3 verses that are relevant. Ain't nothing holy about war, no matter what cause you're fussing for. 2 wrongs don't make a right, the devil's dancing when we fight, 'cause there ain't nothing holy about war. There ain't nothing holy about war, nothing sacred about the killing floor. There is no sacred duty that says we must kick booty, and there ain't nothing holy about war. There ain't nothing holy about war. Nothing sacred about the killing floor. 2 wrongs don't make a right, the devil's dancing when we fight, 'cause there ain't nothing holy about war. There ain't nothing holy about war. There's a body count and God is keeping score. If you want to get to heaven, check your weapons at the door, 'cause there ain't nothing holy about war.
And Al is a multi-instrumentalist. Maybe at some point he might want to share other music later on, but now it's the Canadians.